I'd like to introduce you to the fourth panel of the day. There's been a lot of conversation around the world with the recent climate conference and how every country has been put under pressure in order to kind of hit net zero. And what the people, the governments, companies can do. But this panel is a little bit more about how can technology also kind of help facilitate that transition to net zero. So, Renu, over to you. Thank you very much. A huge welcome, firstly, to all our panelists, right?
Hey, am I audible? Okay. Never used a headset before. So in today's panel, I think we're going to talk a lot about how we as citizens, we as everyday people, how can we make a difference, and how do we use tech as part of it? Because this term, net zero, has been circulating a lot in the last few years. And I'll just quickly define it. So net zero essentially means that whatever carbon you're releasing, whatever activities that you do, whether it's as a company or as a household, can you compensate for that by ensuring that you do something else to absorb that much carbon? So if you're, let's say, growing food and that kind of releases a certain amount of carbon, then you grow more trees, or you kind of conserve some water, or you find a way to put it back in earth, so that at the end of the day, your equations match. Whatever you release is equal to whatever you have absorbed. We have a very interesting panel today. We have a lot of young people. We have a lot of experienced people. We'll start with basic introductions. Akshay, you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm Akshay Soni, working as an engineering manager in O2H Technology. And we're responsible to develop all the different softwares and different segments like life sciences, health tech, and green tech domain. And yeah, working with different collaborators to convert their ideas and concept into reality with help of technology. So yeah, that's about me in brief. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi. I am Wing Commander Dharmendra Sharma. I am a retired Air Force officer. I retired in 2016 and entered the space of NGOs and society in a different way altogether. Being a disciplined soldier, life was quite different in the services. But when I came out, I thought I would do something of my own choice, something which I loved and liked, and today I'm doing that. I have started my own NGO, ARC Foundation, a responsible citizen foundation, which is working in sustainability, which is working in advocacy in the form like we teach debating to school students and prepare them for World Schools Debating Championships. We have till date sent 3 of our kids from Gujarat and Rajasthan to the Indian team of the World School Debating Championships. And we have planted around 3 lakh trees in the last 4 years, mainly in the armed forces campuses. We have adopted 2 villages in Gujarat for basically cleanliness and trying to manage their waste for them, and then teach them how to manage their waste in on their own. Teaching them how to segregate. Most of them know it, but they are not able to do it. We try and make them do it, and so that they are able to sustain themselves. Basically, they do it in the proper way. And we have around 25 odd students whom we are nurturing. We are helping them with their studies. We are looking after their complete needs. These are students from the underprivileged sections of society. That's what we are doing, and our effort is to create responsible citizens in the country. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sharma ji is actually somebody who's very humble. He's done a lot of work. He's based out of Gandhinagar. And the good thing is he's always just a phone call away. So we have also taken a lot of his advice in plantation, in managing forests, and he's always been very responsive. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Dr. Bal.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mansee Bhargava, and today in the panel I represent 20%, but I will try to make my representation as 50% of this country. Thank you so much.
Very powerful words. Dr. Bal teaches at SEB, teaches at Anant National University. Her profile is very interesting because I always call her a storyteller more than a researcher or a scientist, because if you hear her stories about water, so she actually runs a small, very interesting organization called Wednesdays for Water, where they take walks around different water bodies in the country. And right now, since she's in Ahmedabad, every month she organizes a water walk. So whether it's Sabarmati River, Chandrabhaga River, or a lake, or a nala, she does a walk around it, and she'll not just tell you more in terms of technical parts of what water conservation means, but she talks about it in a manner that involves the entire ecosystem. So whether it's animals, birds, people, sewage systems, she integrates all of that. And I am very excited about this panel because I love hearing her stories. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
So my name is Nishank, and I'm the founder of the company called Green. So we are basically a wet waste management company. We are majorly dealing into solid waste management, generating from households, restaurants, societies. So we basically collect all the waste, we take it to a central location, and we convert the food waste into manure. Whatever manure is generated, we give it back to the farmers. So till now, we have been catering to 200 restaurants and societies individually, where we have our own collection system. We have diverted around 4,000 metric ton of waste going to the landfill up till now.
Wow.
So we make these machines, which are decentralized waste management equipments, which we place it at locations to convert waste to manure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I would highly encourage you to talk to Nishank. I mean, you should talk to all panelists after the session, but Nishank particularly, because as citizens, I think most of us live in buildings or bungalows or societies. We generate a lot of waste, and we typically have the AMC kachra van that comes and picks it up, but none of us know where that waste goes. What Nishank's company manages to do is to ensure that if you're segregating your waste at a building level, let's say you have 300 houses in a building and everyone's segregating wet and dry waste, then right at the building level, you can actually put up one of his machines, convert the wet waste into compost, and sell it or use it. So I think what he's doing is very interesting because it puts the onus of being carbon neutral on citizens, not just governments. Thank you for being with us. Ankit.
Yeah. Hello everyone, I'm Ankit. I'm a first generation entrepreneur and founded Lume Solar Energy around 7 years back. And my organization working towards making clean energy available and affordable for everyone. So we are working on ground for the transition towards carbon neutral and net zero targets, and through solar, wind and hybrid. And we are helping the corporates to start from scratch to go carbon neutral and find out what solutions are feasible for you. And we have been doing in this from 7 years, and we have around 400 odd projects across India.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
I'm surprised you're a first generation entrepreneur as a Marwadi. Shouldn't be you like a 13, 14 generation entrepreneur?
That's it.
No, but you're in the right field. The future belongs to green. We'll start off from this way, since we started the intros like this. So since you work in solar energy, and I'm going to ask each of the panelists to use their expertise, like he's in solar, Mansee, you're in water. From your perspective, from whatever you have done in this sector, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing us today in environment?
The biggest challenge by using solar energy, right?
Yeah,
so
from solar.
it's the waste what we'll generate out of solar panels after 20 years. So that is the biggest challenge what I think, because life of solar panels is 25 years. And the panel consists of aluminum, silica, glass, and the EVA back sheets. and that is plastic, aluminum, and cells. So that is the waste will be generating after 20 years, and till now we don't have any solution. And even across the India, only segregation is the only option. That is not the option which we will be, happy to use the cost wise. But yeah, that is the biggest challenge which I think out of solar energy. And likewise, what I said, the option we have in hand, because the 2 years which we have seen, the pandemic that can come from nowhere. So this can be a climate alarm can anytime begin, we can think of. So this is the first option which is available to go carbon neutral, to go net zero through very easy ways. If you talk about one resident who can also be a carbon neutral by installing a solar panel, that is very much easily available. If you just see Ahmedabad roofs, so almost 50% of the roofs you will see as solar. And our Honorable Prime Minister also committed to be net zero by 2070. And around 38% of our energy of India is coming through renewables.
Is it?
38% of our energy. Yes. So that is the transition which we have done from last 10 to 20 years. So that transition which we are seeing. And a lot of options are available for corporates nowadays through solar, through wind, through hybrid, through power trading, through virtual power trading. So a lot of options are there. But these options are not known to everyone. Because these options are not easily available. The transition is not that easily available. So what I think is like, yeah, we have to adapt it. We don't have any other option, because that is the only option we have to be carbon neutral, and through all the ways, through segregating the waste, through adapting renewables, and to have a sustainable lifestyle.
So I'll just ask a follow-up question. In your experience, how has the market, both in terms of buildings, residential buildings and companies, how adaptable they are to using solar? Because there's always this notion, I think most of us also have this idea that solar is not as reliable as thermal or as coal powered or as nuclear. So there's always this notion that solar will run only for few months or few weeks, and if there's not enough sunlight or if the weather is not good, it might not be supported. Have you been able to kind of break through that? Is that a myth, first of all, or is that real?
There, yeah. So I'll just share this with a very small story. So that is my story of 7 years, what I have passed through the stigma. So when I started, so when I used to meet any client or any customer for solar, so it was very difficult to make them understand what is solar. So first they don't understand that it will work or not, and the power production will there or not. हम पतंग कहाँ उड़ाएंगे, सबसे बड़ा question, right? So these are the problems were there. So but Indians adapt very fast.
Right.
And जो फायदा दिखता है ना, जब एक बिल के अंदर नेगेटिव बिल एक बार आता है, तो माइंड में वो फास्ट इनकलकेशंस होना चालू हो जाते हैं. So the Indian mindset started from residential solar. They had installed one residential solar, and government also helped with a lot of subsidy schemes. And when they saw the negative electricity bill, then they started asking to go their factory.
Financial incentives work.
To go complete renewable in their
Right.
factories or the
Right.
units or the warehouses. So that was the first adoption. Second thing is like, if you talk financially also, the break even of solar rooftop system, if you install it at any factory, comes in 3 or 3.5 years. And it is just like more than the benefit which is giving from a FD or a mutual fund or any other investments. So right, so let's talk numbers. So the number viability is there. The financial viability is there. That is the reason people are moving towards renewable.
Right.
If I talk about the broader sense, it is for the residential or the small industrial customers. For the broader sense, for a companies like big pharma companies or a big MNC companies, there are a lot of options to power trade. There are a lot of power parks
Is
are
that
getting
your
set up.
marketing pitch to O2H?
No. So I'm just talking about the options which are available.
Right.
So to all the manufacturing units also. So that is how we can be carbon neutral.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nishank, I'll direct the same question. So coming from a background where you're, I think, dealing exclusively with a lot of residents, with a lot of industrial units, how do they respond? And first of all, what do you think are the biggest challenges when it comes to solid waste management in cities? And how has the response been like for Durogreen?
Yes. So starting from the scratch, it took us also 7 years, same as Ankit, So again, first generation entrepreneur becoming, very difficult to start. So 2 to 3 years is just, to get an idea about the challenges or what are the problems that are there. So when we started dealing with it, so we tried changing the perception of the customer. Is in, okay, you have to segregate the waste and, then give us. But then we had to change. So then we got, changes in our technology in a way, and we made our models in a way that we are always gonna get mixed waste, I know that's, another side of it, but, to make it more and more sustainable and to have more and more, people joining this entire journey where a customer is, the waste goes free of cost from a household, and then, you are coming there and charging a customer for, picking up the waste becomes more very, a difficult task to, talk to them. So there's always the involvement of corporations and governments that comes into picture when you would like to set up or do something like this. At individual scale, there are a lot of individual customers, like individual people like builders and, the companies and the corporates who would like to, do it. But when we talk about a large scale change or, a rapid growing change, which is very fast, then we need to bring down the costs and everything to a scale which is very convenient for a customer. So that's where we are now trying to focus upon, where we are trying to build a structure where it's the doing waste management is at a very minimal scale rather than at a cost and a premium, which is always there in terms of, just dumping the waste from, just by collecting it to taking it to the transfer station and then dumping it through bigger dumpers. To Piranha dump sites or to any other dump sites across India.
Money plays a huge role.
Yes.
If you bring down the cost, then you get more customers. So
Yes.
it's not so much about whether I'm aware about green or whether I'm ecologically conscious. It's more about whether I'm economically conscious.
So ideally, bottom line, it comes to that is what I have seen because, to have more people and to create more impact, I think this is what is there. There are so many environment conscious people, but then when we talk about a scale,
But has this been your experience in Gujarat particularly? Because we as a state are much more, money minded or more conscious about what is the benefit that I'm getting out of it, or other states it's been the same?
No, so the system that is changing from
Right.
collection to dumping to collection to complete recycling, it comes at a cost or some part of it. So because of the evolution that is happening, which will take time, it is not a sudden thing that can happen. So this has been the practice across India, basically. Yeah,
Okay.
and it takes time to convince because the policies and things are coming step by step.
Okay.
We talk about Swachh Sarvekshan, we talk about Swachh Bharat Mission. These are all, things which,
Take a while to adapt.
encompass that. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bal, you are probably the most experienced person on this panel when it comes to all matters environment. And you have also seen, I think, the transition from conversation which were more about conservation to more of tech-related ways in which we can conserve. So I want to ask two questions. One would be obviously, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing us? And secondly, how far do you think tech can go in solving these challenges?
$2 million question or euro or pounds. I would like to really reply one by one to both of them. Biggest challenge, anyone knows, I will focus only on water because everyone is representing different sectors. Anyone knows how much water you consume?
Every day?
Every day.
Third.
What is our national average as a human rights?
30 liters? Less?
30 liters, national average. You please don't speak, let the people speak because we are there here for them. I'm asking them because what is our national average as fundamental right as a citizen to consume water? 25 liters. How much do you actually consume? Because you cannot answer this question because you did not have answer for the first question. How much do you drink every day? 3 liters. Okay, very good. So you don't know beyond 3 liters how much do you consume because you cannot measure. So national average, our fundamental right tells that we are allowed to consume around 135 liters.
Oh.
Okay? And then you feel, wow, I am doing a lot of saving for the country. But you are not. you are actually consuming around 4,500 liters to 6,000 liters per day. If I calculate it with your lifespan and what you consume, so the kind of dress you wear, where you travel, what you wear, where is your wardrobe, what you buy, how many houses you have, how many dresses you have, that comes out to be around 6,000 to 4,500 liters. So water management is really not a problem. Problem is people management. And I'm going to give very simple example here since I arrived here. And I think it is not to embarrass anybody, and that's what I am straight. And it's not about the bottle, by the way. There is more important thing than water. Anyone knows what that most important thing here it is? For everyone in life. I gave a clue.
Oxygen?
Sorry, it's time. The lady was saying 24 times, it is time, the panel is going to start, please come inside. 24 times since I arrived.
You counted?
Yes, because I wanted to bring fun into the conversation, just to make you realize how undervalue we do things of which are most important in our lives. Similarly, we are already alarming since 1972 that water crisis is increasing. Have people changed? We have to think around it. Okay? It is not going to bring change unless and until, first of all, women are on board and discussing this, because women make noise. And I think that's important. And as far as technology is concerned, technology does not have solution to all the problems. Because if technology had all the solutions, we would not have any problems in this society. When we are talking about going to Moon and Mars with the most advanced technology, in the same society, we do not have technology for a man to avoid going to the manhole. So there is something called societal problem. We do not want those poor people to become better off. Because how will we consume those 600 liters of water? A poor person pays 20 times more per liter of water charge than you and I pay. I am not here as an advocate of the poor, but this is somewhere technology cannot solve. And I don't know how many of you will know about Sustainable Development Goals. Let me ask you a final question. Anyone knows Sustainable Development Goal which is related to water? Anyone? Okay, anyone know the Sustainable Development Goal which is related to innovation? See, if you want to solve local problems, you also need to see where you fit in the global problems. Of course, you cannot change the world overnight, and we are talking here that change, we have to bring that change in ourselves. Be the change you want to see in the world. That's what we are trying to do, right? And the change comes from Sustainable Development Goal 12, which talks about responsible consumption and production. So if I can reduce my consumption of water and not really increase his burden of waste, he may have lesser business and he may not like it, but at the end of the day, the planet will be better. Very similar to that, if you don't know how much you consume water, you actually don't know how much you produce wastewater. That's the problem. All the water is one water. The water that flows in you is also flowing in me and is flowing in the river and the nalas. We don't realize that. And I'm not really making it as a philosophical argument. It's a science. The nala or the drain or the water in the river and the lake, by the way, Sabarmati is among the world's top 10 polluted rivers. And it is a smart city. And it is borrowing that water from 1,500 kilometers. And it is talking about technology to bring water from there. So somewhere, if we have science and technology, and if we are not talking about conscience and common sense, We are going round, round, round in like a Bollywood cinemas, those chorus, those extras who are standing at the background and going around trees. It's just like that. So if we are not aware how much water you produce as wastewater every day, and we keep talking about water, we are really having serious problem. We have to treat the wastewater and we have to reduce the wastewater. I would like to see somebody coming here and saying that desh ki mitti se bana harpik please na use kare. Anybody? If we are doing those kind of wastewater, if we are increasing industrial production, if we are increasing solar panels, if we are increasing all those kind of waste, which he is already saying that 25 years we have to, and it's a very short time, by the way. Water is already a problem, Ahmedabad mein. And 21 cities, Government of India has already declared it's a problem. So water management is people management. If you can reduce your 6,000 to even 600, by your lifestyle, you don't need to do any rocket science. You just need 10 liters of water every day to drink and eat. Rest of it is your luxury, our luxury, our ambitions, our aspirations. So I really don't see tech has, and that is why I was saying to Nishchay, make sure that you are inviting me for this talk, because I don't see solution in technology. I see solution in conscience. And I think you have to know that you produce 100% of wastewater what you consume every day. And now there will be somebody who is going to treat water and keep making business out of it. I don't see any sense there, you know. So reduction, minimalism are the answers. We really don't have any other answer here. Thank you.
It's always fun to have Mansee on the panel, because I think as a professor, when she speaks, she's also kind of using it as a teaching opportunity. And I love these little nuggets of trivia that she has, you know, how much water you consume every day, what is the average. And I'm hoping we have more of you in the next few minutes. Sharma ji, you have been working in this field, particularly with a lot of citizens, since most of the work you do is around awareness, is working with villages, looking at, you know, waste segregation. What are the biggest challenges you see there in terms of behavioral change when it comes to any kind of, you know, environmental effort?
Ma'am, my experience after coming out of service has been very different. I started from my own house, if I see, to convince my own wife about waste segregation and my servant. It took me a lot of time and energy. And believe you me, the more I tried, the more I failed. So what I did was, I had to take the entire thing on myself. The day I retired, I had a lot of time. I didn't have any work. So I requested my servant not to, you know, do anything with the wet waste which is in the house. I said, I will manage the waste. Not a problem. You just have to ensure that that's just kept aside. I started taking the waste, and from there my journey started, where I did not give any chance to anybody to speak anything against. My wife had given me an ultimatum. The first time I had collected the waste, we had maggots inside the waste, which is a very normal phenomena. And the moment my servant saw the maggots, she jumped. My wife came to know it, and wife told me कि no waste management inside the house. This is for, you know, बाहर की चीजें यार तुम इसको घर में करोगे और घर में कीड़े होंगे, घर में मच्छर होंगे. I don't want any मच्छर in my house. Please throw it away. And I had to, you know, just bring it behind the house. A small corner was taken by me entirely for myself. And there I started, you know, experiments with waste. Nice of YouTube, you get a lot of information from it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. So I started in this way only and learned that, you know, I could manage it. And there were very good solutions. Of course, like technology is not always bad, it is very good also. There was one green tech technology somewhere in Bangalore. I got through to him. I talked to him, and he sent me a, you know, small bucket which gave me a solution to my waste problem at home. And after 3 months, when my first wet waste converted into the compost, the happiest person was my wife, because when I showed her, yesterday when I was talking to her about this panel, she told me that you should take your compost and hand it over to people and then ask them what it is, so that they will realize how beautiful compost becomes, the same wet waste becomes when you compost it. It is something which touched us. My wife became my biggest follower, and today she speaks about anybody she meets, she tells them that compost बहुत अच्छी बनाते हैं. तो मतलब I became a garbage man in my house, but it's that garbage which is also a resource. Please don't mind my words. People sometimes don't understand. It just comes from the heart. So that's one challenge which I see. It's not when I see it in my house where we are all educated. This must be seen everywhere, and the more I speak about it, the more I see it. So ma'am is working with water. I'll tell you, I have been to, we had adopted 2 villages, and when I went to these villages, the entire, they have created a drains, for taking out wastewater out of the village, a wonderful thing. But the entire wastewater is going into the lake in the village. When I asked them, why do you send it to the lake? They said that lake is the lowest portion of the village. And so what? Water is going there, and we take out the water and put it in our fields. So the water is not wasted. We are utilizing the wastewater. Now, something as silly as this, they are utilizing the wastewater in the fields. They are, they are producing vegetables for themselves out of the same wastewater. They are not understanding what they are getting out of it. So a simple solution, like, if they could change the water. There are various methods of doing it. I talked to one professor in IIT Gandhinagar. He has a wonderful solution for it. But then, those solutions cost. And those, the government is not able to finance it to that much, or somewhere some things are lacking. In government also, what I am seeing is that people are more interested in spending. The larger the amount spent, the better the technology. This is something which is ununderstandable, and I feel this is the biggest challenge. There are very simple solutions to things, but they are not understood. They are not seen because of the glamour associated. We are in a world which is materialistic, where production matters, where the more you produce, the better you are. So I think that's the biggest challenge we are facing today in any of these fields. And when I work with students, when I work with kids, I try to teach them these things only, the smaller things, basically, how you can do it in your own house, how can you do it with yourself, and how we can do it as a society if we talk to each other about such things and do it. I've seen this happening in Bangalore. Bangalore is doing a wonderful thing in this field. We can do it in Ahmedabad and Gujarat too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think homework for everyone should be to go home and start segregating waste if you're not doing that already. Because I think this is something very, again, unique to India, where we have the most educated people, the middle class, the upper middle class. Most of us have degrees from the best universities, either in India or abroad. And we still expect our servants or our house help or the people who pick up our trash to segregate it, even though we are the ones who have actually learned all about the environment, but none of us practice it at home. So I think thanks to Sharma ji, maybe that lesson might go down, because he started his journey at home, and then it came out of that. Akshay, as the, I'm guessing, youngest member of the panel, I'm going to ask you about challenges, but I'm also going to ask you about something that you would know more about than the rest of us. What kind of apps and technology, particularly apps, you think that we can use in our everyday lives to, kind of decarbonize our lives or reduce the carbon footprint?
Sure. So, firstly, yes, I'm the youngest one, and it seems like a masterclass to me. The kind of experience that the team members, the panelists are expressing. Firstly, as ma'am has asked several questions, and most of us didn't had any clue. So it first tell us that the information, there's a lack of information, huge lack of information. So firstly, we need to understand that every person, if they understand the urgency of it, the kind of environment changes which are happening around the world, and what level of urgency do we have, and then when they know why, then you do the actions on the top of it, right? So creating the apps, let's say for example, recently in Outwatch Tech itself, we created the application for Paris Agreement, which is an application which shows what the Paris Agreement is and how it is impacting the world, and how the people are signing up, how the different countries are signing up for it. And when you know that why we need to do it and how urgent it is, then you take the actions against it. Now talking about what can be done on the top of it by using the technology and application, again, O2H technology has built the another application for recycling the bottles, where the platform was having the collaboration with different manufacturing giants like Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, and they were having their own machines where people were getting rewarded for recycling the bottles. So these, as some of the panelist member has mentioned, that it is more of an economical way which drives people rather than being eco-friendly. So if people get rewarded for what they are doing, then they are most probably to do that thing on repeated basis. Yeah. So that is, and there are several apps. For example, there are app on iOS. There's an app on iOS which, if you buy a virtual tree, there are organizations which is being partnered with those technology guys. They will actually go and plant those tree in actual. And there are apps which measures your transportation on daily basis, the kind of carbon footprint that you generate individually. So there are a lot of apps. But it's just that people need to be aware that they need to do it, and that then they do the action against it. So yeah.
I think it's what Mansee was talking, people management versus tech. So
Yeah.
the apps are there, but people need to download the apps and actually use them. Yeah. What I'll do now is open the panel to questions from the audience. Sure.
Hello, everyone. I actually had a question much more about mindset. It talks very simply because a lot of you have touched on this topic. It's about convenience versus responsibility. We do understand that there is a need to move somewhere. We do also understand it's not very convenient, but it is a responsibility. How does the panel think that the mindset shift can come from within, or take the ownership for this particular mindset change in our own people? And once that happens, I think everything that you've mentioned will fall into place as well. So I'd like for the panel to talk about this.
Sharma ji, since I think I'll ask both of you to take that.
Why convenience is so important? Huh? We are already comfortably living. Huh? If your life has few things less, I think nothing will bother you. Huh? You should be only bothered about with few things which makes us live. Land, water, air, and clean air. I'm talking. Clean water. Rest of it is all aspirations. And I think we are somewhere carried away by what is good or what is not good by looking at others. We really don't have time to look in ourselves. I don't want to give a spiritual lecture here, but looking inside and listening is very important. Then you realize, and Corona actually taught all of us to listen better, look inside, look around, and you realize that you really don't need many things. So having less things does not make us uncomfortable. That myth has to go away. Of course, if you go with the Onida TV style, that neighbors envy owner's pride, of course there is a problem. Then you are putting a price tag on yourself. Don't put a price tag on yourself. You are exemplary, you are extremely valuable. The moment you compare yourself with others, you actually devalue yourself. Do not devalue yourself. Put yourself, but not to the scale of narcissism. Huh? When you put yourself too high, do not go the narcissist style, okay? So it has to be just grounded. You walk every day. I can give you a very simple example. How can you do that? You just walk every day 1 hour barefoot. You will know the value of life much better than sitting 10 hours in an air-conditioned office. Let me tell you, I can guarantee on that.
If you're not on Instagram, Mansee, you should post these nuggets on Instagram. Because people love these one-liners, look within before you look out.
I need a tech help to really help me in technology. I am
You're
not
the
good
right
in that.
On Nishay's question, if I have to, ma'am has already answered most of the thing, but if I have to address the question, the idea that I'm getting right now is, let's accept it, India is a status-driven country. And if you put a certain tag, doing this is a trendy, doing this is cool thing. For example, recently the show which make entrepreneurship really, cool thing. So if you attach this green initiatives with certain trends or, certain influencers promote it, it becomes a cool and trendy thing, which can influence people at certain level, I feel. And I think that's how in India the things are driven. The more it is trendy, the more it is in trend, people adopt it, and that's how it works. Yeah.
But I think on the flip side, it's also problematic because sometimes we just copy trends without thinking. Like, I love this one. So a lot of my friends who love drinking coffee, which is another trend which has come from outside, they keep talking about how they don't use straws. And they'll carry like 2-3 plastic bags, but they're like, we don't use straws because using straw is not bad for marine life, is not good for marine life. And the interesting part is that this entire not using straws came up from this 11-year-old's project which spoke something about straws in the US. And US is a country where people drink a lot more sodas, they use a lot more straws than India does. But somehow we have adapted that instead of not using plastic, which is something much more harms environment more. So I think that's something that we need to be a little bit cautious about, what is fashionable, what is actually real. You had a question.
Yeah, I have a fundamental question in relation to sustainability. Okay, can we live without clothes? Are we not used to of the air conditioning to an extent that we cannot go back? Almost 70% of the energy that is consumed, that is creating all your air pollution and polluting the water and the rivers and so on, is all by industry that is doing roti, kapda and makan, that is doing packaging. Your vehicles on the road that we talk about is only 5-7% of the energy or the pollution that we are creating. We can't go back. That 70% of the energy is going to get consumed, population is going to increase. All of us are going to produce more clothes, more food, more packaged food so that people can get food which is eatable, more drinking water in bottles. Nothing is going to change from that perspective. We are not killing the population here. Going back to becoming a nomad, is that possible, first of all, for the whole population when you're talking about parity, equality, no poverty, everybody getting, achieving sustainable living goals at least, before we talk about, because the first one is poverty. I know water is the 4th one or the 12th one is, the first one is poverty, right? So survival is important. So how, without using technology that is creating all the problems, you are saying that we can come up with solutions in solving problems that, according to me, are unsolvable at this stage? Sorry.
It's a really loaded question, so I'm going to skip it. I'll get one of our panelists to answer. Sharma ji, you want to try?
Okay.
You see, the way you have explained it gives a very apt view to it, but we need all those things, definitely. But what I personally feel is aping trends, aping things which are there is the wrong way of doing. Like, if we just look at our past, we were taught we were taught certain values when we were young. I think most of my generation would agree to it. We wouldn't leave food on the plate. We wouldn't, throw water recklessly. We would have, today what I am realizing it, we have showers, so we are, just wasting water away. I was in Amreli district where water was only coming for 30 minutes in a week. And the people in Amreli approached the collector for water twice a week. So I was surprised that, they were getting water once a week, that too for half an hour. Now they wanted water for twice a week, and the collector was unable to give that much. So the collector said, we will give you water. They requested for water twice in a week for 15 minutes. So the people there at that time, when water was scarce, they were living with water for 15 minutes twice a week. Okay, they wanted that much. Now today, when the water has reached them through a pipeline, technology has sent it to them. They have not realized the value of that water. They want to use much more. Now they are not satisfied with even everyday water coming to them. So I'm just giving you how we people are. You see, technology has given us very, very good things. But do we really, somewhere we need to strike a balance. Otherwise, technology has also given us many other things, which can, we have to balance it out. That's how I take it. My call would be that. Thank you.
Should I answer?
Yeah, please, please.
You'll have to keep it a little short.
Hear me,
to
huh?
make
Yes,
enough
I am
amount of
seeing
time.
the time's up. It was a fundamental question, so I thought I will also take it as a responsibility. See, whatever we all are doing, as long as we are drawing groundwater to do anything, even greening of your garden, saying that I'm growing green, and drawing groundwater is the biggest crime we are doing. Whether you are doing green energy, this energy, that energy, drawing groundwater and doing it is the biggest crime as humanity we are doing. Now, if you really see this as a kind of an excuse that there is so much of poverty and so much of many people need food and all, let me tell you, this has been the biggest shield of the educated elites to really exploit the resources for themselves. If we were doing things for the poor people, this country would not have had half the people in the poor category. So let us be truthful to each other. We are doing everything most of the time for ourselves. And if we look at the division of class, it has increased in the last 100 years, much more than we had kingdom time. So, and if I look in my profession, very educated people often talk about that the cities need houses, cities need more water. To whom is a question. And poverty is about to whom. It's not about for everybody. So if you are talking about going naked, I completely agree with you, and trust me, yesterday itself in a public platform I was saying this, I would love to go naked everywhere if that allows society to accept me in that form. And I'm saying it again, because going naked is really not a crime. Having a bigger wardrobe is a bigger crime. Let me tell you that. So if I have to talk as a sustainability person. So please keep in mind, we are not talking about somebody becoming poor, but somebody becoming just. You having, please don't take it personally, we having 100 clothes or 20 clothes does not make us poor. But somebody having 2 clothes and we constantly use them, exploit them to talk about giving them 20 clothes, we are not truthful to each other. See, we are discriminating to human beings. How can we be more inclusive to other beings? I will stop here, I think, because time up, and I really value time, to be honest. Because water crisis is really severe. We are not affected, and that's why we can talk about it. I also talk about it, but at least we have to do our bit. Trust me, every poor person is paying 20 times, and I have come here as a voice of them, 20 times per liter they pay than an average middle class person pays for a liter of water. So you can imagine their salaries and their incomes are 100 times less than an average middle class, and they pay 20 times per liter of water. So somewhere we don't have to do rocket science. We just have to be truthful to our fellow beings. And this is, I think this is fundamental. You asked me fundamental question. So it's fun. Don't walk naked, at least walk barefoot. That I think you can do that. Thank you.
I think it's impossible to top that. We are going to conclude here. I'll just say one or two small things that. Is it okay? We have time?
Yeah,
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, looking at your face and getting scared. That's okay.
So,
Did you get scared too?
just taking it to the perspective, so I completely agree with you that there's no going back, you know. It's kind of a very difficult thing to, you know, go back to where we started with lots of coal and, you know, lots of water around. So what I feel is, over the period of time, as we have evolved, and as the cities and people are evolving to become more responsible enough. So whatever is consumed, you know, the EPR policies or, you know, waste management policies, whatever that, you know, are coming around, those are towards the change that is happening in the perception of people that they have to be more responsible enough. For example, if you are generating a plastic bottle, then you need to pay for it if you want to get it recycled, starting from your home. The waste gets generated, whatever, the clothes or whatever we do, it starts from your home or your premise itself. So once that change starts, and if you are responsible enough to, you know, just pay for it and, you know, just be away from it, that's completely fine. There are people to take care of it, obviously. But, you know, on the counterpart of it, whatever, you know, the resources have been consumed to make that particular bottle or whatever things, you know, that is not gonna, you know, go back, basically. But at least we are delaying the thing by just giving it back to the society by recycling it or by doing whatever means necessary to just do it. Yeah, thank you.
Ankit, do you want to have last?
So adding to the point, it's like what I feel is like mindset and technology works proportionally. You know, so that is just like a seesaw, two sides. So if we'll adapt technology too fast, it will not going to help us. And if the mindset will not going to change with technology, then only it will work. So let's, as she said, like we can start with barefoot. We can't go naked in the public, right? Because society will not accept it. We know that. So that's the thing which is not possible. So when I see only in Ahmedabad, what I see in Ahmedabad, let's start stopping throwing anything on the roads. Like every time when I see a luxury car moving around, eating food and just throwing the plates on the road, even on the best of the best roads which are there in Ahmedabad. So that I see that. So that is the things which we can start. And that is the mindset which we are looking for. Technology is, lot of technology innovation is going on, but mindset is not going to change. People go from here to abroad, but they don't throw waste over there. But in Ahmedabad or in any city where they are in, they throw waste on the roads. So that is the point where is the trigger point which we have to accept, initiate, start. And then only we have to take help of technology, and then we have to move further.